Welcome, beautiful people, to Petrify the Patriarchy. I'm your guide, Joe B. If you're ready to unearth the subtle ways patriarchal culture has shaped your world and uncover the hidden power within your own shadow, you're in the right place. Here we don't just speak truth to power, we wield it, turning stagnant energies to stone so that your authentic, liberated self can truly flourish. Let the unlearning begin. Hello all. If you're watching on the YouTubes, I'm in the other half of my office. I didn't want to move and disturb the dogs. You can see the one sleeping behind me. The other one's at my feet. So, just in case. This episode is called Medusa's Mirror, the Grand Unification so far, and welcome back. Today we're going to go back to the source, and I wanted to bring back Medusa as our main character. And most of us really know the patriarchal version of her story, where Medusa was a monster with snakes for hair whose gaze turned men to stone, and she was eventually beheaded by the hero Perseus. But if you look closer through the lens of my research, you'll see that Medusa is the ultimate case study in human capital liquidation. She wasn't born a monster. She was a priestess, a high-yield host. And she was serving in the temple of Athena. She was the strong woman of her time. Beautiful, dedicated, productive for the system until the system violated her. And then in a move we've been discussing for weeks, the patriarchy labeled her broken and sent her into exile. Now I want to take a second to move you to show notes, because I've created a graphic that will really help clarify this human liquidation cycle that I'm going to be talking about today, that I've been kind of building up to this point. And I was working on building it, I think 2 or 3 episodes ago, and I meant to put it in the show notes and I forgot. So I'll try to make this my reminder, go back and put it there. So I'm going to make sure that that is put in the show notes, so that you have a real visual of, it's kind of a quadrant circle with arrows that point in directions and explain the different aspects of what we're talking about today. So let's start with Medusa's life in the liquidation cycle, and that would be the promise. As a priestess, Medusa was promised safety and sacred significance as long as she remained a perfect vessel, right? She's working in a temple, and she's doing all the things that are expected of her to do. She is beautiful to look at, and is going about her day-to-day existence, focusing on the significance of what it means to be a woman priestess at that particular moment in time, right? The burden for her is the over-functioning of herself within the temple, giving her beauty and service to the gods, right? She spends the entirety of her existence to the temple and to the gods, and the humanness, the womanness, the femininity of herself is forgotten because she's doing what she's told by the system. So the crisis that happens for her is when Poseidon lusted after her, and because she wasn't interested in anything and turned him down, he decided to rape her. And instead of Athena saying, you know what, Poseidon, fuck you, and going at Poseidon for raping her priestess, Athena cursed Medusa. And that's when Medusa's body underwent a radical transformation. That's when her hair becomes snakes, her gaze becomes lethal, and in the eyes of the temple, she was liquidated. But in our eyes, in my eyes, in the work that I'm doing here, this was biological sabotage. Her body grew into a firewall. She became unusable to men. She was outcast by other quote unquote beautiful women. And because she was no longer consumable, she no longer fit the societal structure that were expected of women. And because she was now unusable to men, because her physical beauty had been stripped from her, and she's now thrown into this monster phase, right? She was unusable to men, therefore the system. And she became a firewall to her own existence. The shame is that the myth tells us she was a monster to be feared. But that's that internalized rent we've been talking about here. That's the system telling her and us that her boundaries, her no, was the curse. Not Poseidon raping her, not the curse that Athena placed on her, but her boundary, no, was a curse. Right? And that's oftentimes, if you are a woman, particularly women, I can only speak to our United Statesian existence, your boundaries are consistently tested because no is a curse to the system. You're being true to yourself. Your temple, your whole being needs that no, but the system is not designed to hear and accept no from us. So let's talk about Perseus a little bit. Perseus is the quote-unquote hero, and he's the one infected by Wetiko, the mind virus, right? And the big question for me is, why did he need a mirror shield to kill her? And it's because he couldn't look at her directly. And this is the male-centeredness that we've kind of been talking about too. Perseus needed the mirror of the default gaze. He looked at a reflection of her. It's a version that stripped away her humanity and turned her into a target, right? He liquidated her value, any humanness, any of what made her a powerful woman. He liquidated her for his own glory capital. But here's the aha moment. So even when Medusa was beheaded, even when the system thought it had finally finished her, her head still turned the enemies to stone. And her power to stop the masculine doing in its tracks was non-depreciable. Her body's no longer functioning. Her head has been severed. But the power to turn men to stone is still there. Her gaze remained her weapon of truth. So I'm going to take a step back and remind you about my friend in the ER. And like Medusa, she, in that moment, was in a state of biological sabotage. Her heart was literally stopping the machine. And like the doctors who were confused because her symptoms weren't standard, the gods were confused by Medusa because she refused to be a standard priestess in that moment. When you have, like me, Hashimoto's, for example, or you've got the massive brain fog of perimenopause, or you're just done. I was done in the classroom. I could not physically step into another educational space if you paid me money at this point right now, right? You aren't turning into a monster. And I know it feels that way. I know it feels so hard to step outside of what you've always known or what you've always felt. You aren't a monster. You're putting your energy into growing your snakes. You're becoming a Gorgon. Someone whose gaze is so honest that it petrifies the lies of patriarchy. So Medusa didn't fall from grace. She fell into sovereignty. And I'm very intentional about my words. She fell into sovereignty. It wasn't her choice. What happened to her wasn't her choice. But what became of her was she no longer had to participate in a system that wasn't designed for her to begin with. And that gave her liberation. She moved from the temple of the masculine doing to the island of feminine being. That island that she was sent to was the most sacred, holistic place she could have been. She got to create the life that she wanted to lead on that island. So this week, when your inner landlord tells you that you're a monster for saying no, you're feeling that guilt, or you're questioning yourself, right? When you're saying no, I want you to think about the feminine energy of being unproductive, even if it's just for 10 minutes. I want you to look in the mirror. I want you to see those snakes. Visualize them. They are gorgeous. They are not your curse. They are your antivirus to a system that was never designed for you to begin with. You are not the victim of the hero's journey. You are the one who stops the hero in his tracks, because we don't need heroes, right? We are our own hero. So let's go through our audit. Again, I'll put these in the show notes so that you have them. And, sorry if you can hear my dog snoring. Let's go through our audit. I've got 4 questions, as always. The first one I'm calling the temple test. Where in my life am I still acting as a priestess, right? Or a martyr, maybe, giving away the feminine energy of my being, my intuition, my creativity, my nurturing, right? Where are you giving that away in order to keep a system running that would protect me in a crisis? And this takes some thought, because we might not be able to see a potential crisis through a system that we haven't felt has harmed us yet. But take it from someone having gone through sexual harassment. The system was never designed to protect me from that. The system was designed to protect the system. And honestly, protect a man over a woman. Right? Where in my life am I still acting like that priestess or martyr? The mirror check. When I look at my own fatigue, or maybe they're atypical symptoms, am I seeing a monster? Am I giving myself a label like lazy or problematic? That's our patriarchal view. Or am I seeing it as a firewall? I'm protecting myself. I'm giving myself the time that I need. That's the sovereign view. Okay? Again, the mirror check. When I look at my own fatigue, am I seeing the monster or the firewall? The petrifying gaze. What masculine doing energy, or Wetiko, remember that's the mind virus, our societal virus, behavior in my environment do I need to look at directly and turn to stone this week? What masculine energetic doing, or Wetiko, remember that's the mind virus, societal viewpoints, behavior in my environment do I need to look at directly and turn to stone this week? So that could be a lot of different things, right? It's a lot of different things. If you're looking at, the laundry list of things that need to happen at home after your long ass day at work, do you have a partner that you could say, I really need you to pick up dinner or cook dinner tonight. I don't have it in me. Right? Is there something not pressing? Okay, the laundry didn't get done on Sunday. It's Monday. Mondays are really hard. Can I wait till tomorrow on that? Right? Take a look. What do I just need to petrify for a moment? Not eliminate completely, but just for the moment. What will give me the time that I need for my feminine energy so that I can create, so I can nurture myself, so that I can be, I can rest, I can rejuvenate, right? What can I do? And the Perseus Warning. Who in my life is using a mirror shield, refusing to see my humanity and only seeing me as a resource to be managed? That's a big one. That one's easy for me to pull up, right? Who in my life is using that shield to refuse to see me? That was me in the sexual harassment component, right? I was not being seen in that moment. I didn't meet a checklist of requirements according to a metric that didn't exist that said, oh yeah, that's what you're experiencing, when I know what I was experiencing. So they managed my problem by telling me it was unfounded and refusing to see the harm that had happened, right? So who in my life is using that? It could be a friend who doesn't ever listen to your problems, but make sure that you are a constant sounding board for them. I've had those for sure, right? Take a look. Do a little bit of a checkup there. Who can I start to limit? Where can I put up some more boundaries? All right. So your mantra this week, my monster is actually my masterpiece. I am the firewall that Wetiko cannot bypass. I'll say it again. My monster is actually my masterpiece. I am the firewall that Wetiko cannot bypass. So, as we close the door on the temple today, I want you to take a long look in your own obsidian mirror. If you are tired, if your body is signaling a shutdown, if you're finally feeling the weight of being that high yield host for a system that never planned to protect you, know this. You are not failing. You are transforming. Those snakes, the boundaries, the no's, the physical symptoms that make you unusable to the machine, that's your antivirus. All right? The patriarchy really wants you to believe you've been cursed with exhaustion. And I can say that with my Hashimoto's full force. The system wants me to believe I've been cursed with exhaustion. But the truth is that you've been blessed with sovereignty. You have the ability to question and push back and rest. You're moving from a liquidated asset back into a living, breathing being. And a being that cannot be consumed is a being that is truly free and liberated. So this week's mission is to go back to do the Medusa audit for yourself. Look at where you're still playing the priestess or the martyr, however you want to look at it, and where it's time to let your gaze turn the masculine doing to stone and to stop paying rent for a life that was always yours. If this episode sparks something in you, or if you've got a story of your own biological sabotage that needs to be told, find me at movingmaxim.com or email me at movingmaxim@gmail.com. Let's keep that conversation going and continue the work of evicting our inner landlord, period, full stop. Next time, I do really want to dive deep into the mechanics of control as we dismantle power over versus power with. I heard the phrase leaderful years ago, and I have stuck with that word, leaderful, not leader, leaderful. We're going to look at why the patriarchal definition of strength is actually its greatest weakness. Total flipperoonie there, but we're going to talk about it. Until then, please own your snakes, trust your gaze, and remember you are the sun of your own solar system. I'm Joe B. This has been Petrify the Patriarchy. Stay visionary. Until next time.